The Atlanta Hawks have a Trae Young size problem, and this was emphasized again in their loss in the play-in round to the Chicago Bulls in the 2024 playoffs. And this is the third straight year that the Hawks have been in the play-in since going on a 2021 Eastern Conference Finals run with Trey Young, John Collins, and that same core that they had back then. And ever since then, they've been trying to replicate this same kind of playoff success. But to make a playoff run, you first have to make the playoffs. And the past two seasons, the Hawks have been eliminated in the first round of the NBA playoffs. And this year, they did not even qualify for the actual playoff rounds, where they would have been going up against the Boston Celtics anyways if they had qualified as the 9th seed. But Trey Young has been a huge issue for this team throughout the past 3 seasons. And if you look at his statistics over the past couple of years, you would think that he has been playing amazing basketball, as he's averaged over 25 points and 10 assists in each of the past 2 seasons. And in 2021-22, he averaged 28.4 points and 9.7 assists per game, falling just short of that 10 assist threshold. But if you look deeper at his game and at deeper statistics, and even if you sit down and watch an Atlanta Hawks basketball game, you will see why Trey Young does not play basketball in the way that translates to winning. If you look at other top point guards in the NBA, you'll see that Steph Curry is willing to move without the ball and does not demand the ball in his hands at all times. And the Warriors have been continuously winners until this season, unfortunately, with him playing this type of basketball. And even in a system where the point guard has the ball in his hands a lot of the time, in a system like Dallas, Luka is able to play the second option in a games where, say, Kyrie Irving or some other player on the team is having a huge game. But this is where Trey Young has a major problem, because in games where the Hawks are in tight situations late in games, Trey Young will effectively shoot them out of the game by pulling up from 25 to 30 feet way beyond the three-point line. And while this shot occasionally goes in and it'll make ESPN and everybody will get hyped as they should, this shot is very inefficient and very ineffective. And more times than not, if that shot is consistently taken by anyone, including Trey Young, this will lose basketball games, and is not an efficient shot to take late in games and disrupts the flow of an NBA offense. And if you look beyond just the points per game and assists per game, Trey Young shoots 43% from the field and 37.3% from the three-point line this season, and is a career 35.5% three-point shooter. While that is about league average and not actually terrible, when you have a player in Trey Young that is shooting a high volume of three-point shots every single game and is supposed to be your primary scorer night in and night out, you need him to be shooting a higher percentage on his three-point attempts. If you look at guys like Damian Lillard and Steph Curry, who are considered to be the other elite three-point shooting point guards in the NBA right now, and who Trey Young has been compared to night after night and year after year, they are shooting above 38% from three yearly. And Steph Curry, even this year in a down year, shot above 40% from three. And when you go and look at Trey Young's games, he will shoot the ball almost to a fault. And he does have the green light, and this is where coaching does factor in, because Quinn Snyder does not scheme up game plans to suit the needs of this team while just letting Trey Young just run wild and shoot the shots that he wants to shoot. Trey Young will go into the fourth quarter of a game having an off night. And all players have them. All players have off nights. And there have been numerous times that on these off nights, another player such as DeJounte Murray or another one of their key role players is having a good shooting night. But it will always be Trey Young in the clutch, shooting the ball and disrupting the flow of the offense. I've seen times where DeJounte Murray will be having a good game and have a few buckets in a row or having a good quarter, and Trey Young will come down the floor, and instead of looking to feed the hot hand in DeJounte Murray or whoever else it might be, will shoot a pull-up three-pointer from way downtown And whether he misses it or makes it, he'll take the entire team out of rhythm, and they'll go on a cold drought and end up losing the game. This has happened time after time after time. And in their playing game against Chicago, I wasn't able to watch this game, but judging purely off the statistical box score that I've looked at, Trey Young had an awful game. Trey Young shot 4 for 12 from the field and 3 for 8 from 3, which aren't necessarily terrible statistics, but this is the kind of game that we have grown accustomed to seeing from Trey Young. He shot right at his three-point percentage for the season. He shot 37.5% tonight and was 37.3% for the whole season. And Trey Young is just not an efficient point guard. He averages a lot of assists, but at times will go stagnant in the offense. This is a weird offense to run in 2024. And if you compare Luka Doncic and Trey Young, who were drafted in the same year and actually have similar skill sets in terms of shooting the ball at a high level and being able to hit threes from way downtown, you'll see that Luka has adapted his game to winning basketball, while Trey Young has done quite the opposite and hasn't made the past the first round in the last 3 years. And Luka is able to feed the hot hand and really make his quality assists count. And if you look at the quality of shots that Luka is taking versus Trae and the quality of offense that both teams are running, you will see that Luka does a much better job of facilitating an offense even before Kyrie Irving got there and when they had similar talent levels on their teams. And I have to say that Trey Young makes watching Hawks basketball very tough sometimes. And when he's hot, he's very, very, very good. He's elite. But I don't think we can compare him to Luka Doncic or any of the other top 5 point guards in the NBA anymore, because Trey Young just hasn't been able to prove that he can win in big situations. They traded for DeJounte Murray. They had a good young power forward in John Collins who had issues of his own, and he's had other players surrounding him that are good role players. Even Clint Capella has been a very good option for them defensively and on pick and rolls. But this team just hasn't been able to win, and with Trey Young as a leader, it is very hard for any team to win. So I think that it might be time for the Atlanta Hawks to possibly move on from Trey Young, maybe send him to San Antonio, as I've heard others predict, or just move him on to another team as soon as possible, just to see what they can get for him and maybe rebuild, because they're stuck in no man's land right now, where they have a solid core but just cannot get it done every single year in the play-in. They can't get into the actual playoff setting where they can actually have a chance to win a round. Even last year, when they got the 8th seed against Boston, they really didn't have much of a chance at all to beat Boston, who was a superpower at the time, before losing to Miami. And Trey Young just hasn't been the same player since the Eastern Conference Finals run, and even on that run, he wasn't as insanely efficient either, which has been the biggest downfall to his game outside of his defensive capabilities, which I'm not even going to cover in this video. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section below. God bless you all. I hope you have an amazing day, and make sure to subscribe to the channel as I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of April. God bless you all.